Hey everyone, Dr. G yesterday explained this during lab, and I think a lot of people missed it, and since it was my pro section, I was a little bit confused on how this process worked, and Dr. G really explained it clearly, and so I'm doing this video to hopefully set some people who are still confused straight, and just to make it easier to understand what was going on yesterday. So just bear with me as I trudge through this. So right here you have your right atrium and then your right ventricle, and then it goes up to your left atrium and left ventricle. And so the things that I'm going to talk about are in a fetus, how the blood circulates in the heart to bypass the lungs, because the lungs are undeveloped, so it would compromise the lungs if this blood went to the lungs, and so it's going to actually go out through the aorta and become oxygenated through the mother. So to start, you have your, so you have blood coming in through the vena cavas. And so it's going to come in through here, and here's your right atrium. You are going to want to not have blood come into this right ventricle, because in this right ventricle, it's actually taking blood out through the pulmonary artery and then go out to the lungs, which you don't want to do with an infant. I mean, not an infant, but a fetus. So that's the whole trick. You want to bypass sending blood to the lungs. So how the body has adapted to this, you have these shunts that are across the septum between the atriums, and it's going to actually draw the blood out through here because the blood's going to want to go through the pathway of least resistance. So it's actually going to go through these shunts, and the shunt on the right atrium is going to be the fossa ovalis. So it's going to be on this septum side in the right atrium, and then the one on the left atrium is going to be the foramen ovale, so just right there. And what they do, they're hard to see in an adult animal, so just as long as you know the direction of where they're at, then you'll be okay. So just know they're along the septum walls, and usually they're called ovalis because they're an oval indentation, so that's another way you can kind of pinpoint where they may be. Okay, so you go through these shunts, and that is able to then bring the blood down through this left ventricle, which then, here I'm going to try and draw this. If you can see, this is the pathway of the blood leaving this left ventricle, and it's going to shoot out through the aorta. And that's going to be where the blood is going to be able to be oxygenated via the mother. And so sometimes, though, if you remember the valves, there's still blood that can drip into this, so this is not foolproof. So when blood does get down into this right ventricle, it's still going to try and go through the pulmonary artery because it has to go somewhere. So this buildup blood is going to go through this pulmonary artery and then would compromise the lungs. So the body has another adaptation for if this happens, and it's going to be, if you remember, you have what's called the ligamentum arteriosum in the adult animal, and it's just literally a closed up ligament. So it's a ligament. So you can see it really well on the cow or the horse. But anyways, this ligamentum arteriosum is right here, and that's going to connect the pulmonary artery and the aorta, but it's also in the fetus. It's going to draw this blood to be able to go out through the aorta, and therefore protecting the undeveloped lungs. So those are the main concepts, and I hope that makes sense. I'm sorry if it doesn't. If you have any more questions, you should probably ask Dr. G, but you can also ask me, and I'll help you as best as I can. Okay. Okay, have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Bye.